order. First item on the agenda is approval of February 3rd.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes approved. Next item is Mr. Toddy with facilities update.
Good evening, thank you, sir. I'll begin the facilities update with custodial, as I always do. Staffing continues to be an issue for our custodial staff. We took advantage of the vacation for some deeper cleaning in the classrooms, and we were able to get some touch-up painting done, especially at the middle school in Donning. The grounds crew, as mentioned, cover those custodial shortages. Sports season is coming. We're beginning to look at opening. We've scheduled dates to start the irrigation system. We've received some schedules from athletics, and we've received training on the new infield grooming machine that we purchased. Maintenance, ongoing work orders. The vacation break allowed us to get caught up on TVs and projectors in the classroom, which is always an ongoing piece. We also took advantage of the break to complete the kitchen hood testing and inspection, which is a requirement of the fire department, that we get all that certified and checked every year. I told you we had lost a transmission in one of our plow trucks. That transmission has been replaced and that plow truck is back online. I told you we destroyed really the auger to the large 8-foot Kubota snow blower, and we've got parts in on that. It's been installed and that equipment is back online also. Big shout out and thank you to the Oyster River School District. Some of you may know Oyster River built a new middle school. They're fully occupied in the middle school, and they're getting ready to roll the wrecking crews on their old building. Before they did that, Mr. Rizicki, the director of facilities there, shared out to all the other directors of facility in the area that he had some furniture in these classrooms that was available up for grabs. And we took full advantage of that. Mr. Prue and the grounds guys went down there, and we secured this is a rounded down, very rough count, 100 tables, 50 student desks with chairs, 15 teachers' desks, metal cabinets, shelving. We even got 2 custodial carts out of the deal. Just that, roughly $35,000 if you had to purchase that much furniture new. And right now, the first thing we've done with that is the cafeteria at Bud Carlson. They had a whole hodgepodge of different tables and chairs up there, and we've kind of made that all the same. The rest of it went into the Spalding attic, and as furniture gets returned to our shop for welding or repairs, we'll evaluate it and see, do we have a nicer piece in storage? We'll just cycle it out that way and get it into circulation. The air quality improvement project, this is the 2 sides to it. There's a local funded piece and the ESSER grant funded project. Focusing right now mostly on the high school, and the first floor got a little bit more than halfway through wiring. After wiring the swap out, to build the front end and then swap the controls over, but making great progress on that project. Spalding High School CTE exterior joint sealant project is 100% complete. And I had told you about Maple Street Magnet School. The health inspection had identified some problems with the domestic hot water, and we've got some solutions. The equipment's been purchased, and we're moving ahead to provide more adequate hot water in all of the hand washing sinks as well as the cafeteria. Work orders for the period of February 4th, 2022 through March 3rd, 2022. We completed 136 work orders. Last time I spoke to you, that number was 276, but you'll remember that 276 was for 2 months. In this period, we created 98 new work orders. Last time it was 285, 2 months worth. My close ratio is way up. It's 1.39 to 1. Last time I spoke to you, it was 0.97 to 1. So we're really knocking the work orders down. I think largely to very few created. When everybody leaves the building for a week, there's not a lot of work orders coming in. Now open 117 work orders, down from 148 last time. I'm sure many of you have questions about the Spalding High School Auditorium. Yes, that's a separate agenda item. I won't address it here, but I will address it shortly. That's all I have for facilities update. Thank you.
We took advantage of a lot of sand and salt and stuff being a lot of ice this year, are you guys expecting pretty heavy cleanup in the spring?
Yes, this year we used a lot of straight salt,
Okay.
which doesn't have the same residual as the sand. The salt dissolves and flows away into our watershed. The sand is what impacts the cleanup more. But yeah, we put down a large amount, and we anticipate cleaning up a large amount.
One more, and I apologize. We put down a new paving between middle school and McClellan. That held up okay?
Yes, it did, the outroad, yes, we did behind the middle school, and then the outroad from all the way in the back of the middle school, all the way out to Brock Street. And yes, it's held up.
Thank you.
Any other questions on facilities? All right, moving on to the next item, high school auditorium update.
Okay,
Are we addressing the auditorium?
We're doing it right now.
Oh,
right now,
okay.
so, I had a mentor once who told me nothing's ever as bad as it seems at first, and the other side of that, it's nothing's ever as good as it seems either. But been telling myself a lot in the past 2 weeks, nothing's ever as bad as it seems. So it's not as bad as it seems. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. The community has pulled together, our contractors have pulled together. We're making great progress on the problems at the high school. Let me start this whole conversation. I'm going to frame it with this picture from my presentation from December of '21. I showed you a picture of all this rigging. All that rigging at the Spalding High School stage is bolted down to the floor. And I told you I had a safety concern because the floor was problematic. We're bolted to wood from 1939, and we're hanging huge suspended loads up above in the proscenium of the theater, and we need to address that. Well, we've addressed it. In 2012, we installed a deluge system in the high school. A deluge system is it's designed to create literally a wall of water. You picture a theater, you're on stage, looking out at the audience. Up above you, there's a very tall space where all the props and lights can get hoisted way up. It's a giant chimney, in effect. And historically, firefighters fear prosceniums. They're terrible fire hazard spaces. So these deluge systems are designed, if there's ever a fire on stage, creates a literal wall of water to separate the audience from the stage. And that's what we installed in 2012. The thing is, you never test deluge systems because you can't. You put them in and you wait for them to activate. Ours activated. It got tested. It worked. It delivered a 2-inch city main with roughly 60 pounds of pressure behind it, wide open, run for almost an hour. I haven't had an opportunity to do the math on that, but
1,000 gallons a minute.
it's a lot of water. It's 1,000 gallons a minute, so it's 60,000 gallons of water got delivered onto the surface of the stage. So approximately 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, the 20th, the fire department received a pre-action alarm from Spalding High School. They responded, traced out through the alarm system, and finally found where the problem was in the theater space. And by about 3:30 a.m., the water was shut off. So why did this thing trigger?
So, first off, did it activate the fire alarm system? Because if it flowed for an hour, we have an
The
issue.
call they got was a pre-action, which directed the fire department to the basement, which was probably because the flow switch is in the basement. But the flow switch didn't go until after the deluge system activated. And that's what I want to get to here a little bit about the why. Why did this deploy? So they got a pre-action alarm. In these fire alarms, there's action and pre-action. A lot of times they'll go into an alarm state of pre-action, it's just a warning, something might be going wrong. It alerts the fire department. The fire department will either roll or they'll call me and let me know, hey, we got a pre-action, you might want to go look at this kind of a system trouble situation. A deluge system does not have a pre-action state. It's an action. If there's no pre-action, it goes. It's on, it's off. There are only two ways to make it go on. One is somebody opens the cabinet and turns a valve, relieving the pressure on top of the check valve, full water. That didn't happen. The other way is one of several heat detectors, which are located at the very top of that proscenium area that I talked about. One of those would trigger. If those trigger, they talk down to, this is the deluge system. This is someone would have had to have turned that valve to release weight onto this check valve to allow city water to go up this pipe. That didn't happen. So the other thing is one of the heat detectors talked to this piece of electronics and said, hey, let's trip. The problem is when this system was installed in 2012, this cabinet was installed almost directly under the deluge system. It destroyed itself. When it activated, those 60,000 gallons of water landed on that board. Any hope of me recovering data from that board got washed away by 60,000 gallons of water. This is a little bit of an older system. They're a little bit dumb. Even if it still worked, it might not be able to tell me which one of the detectors tripped. So part of what we're looking at to replace this system, and I'll start to talk about replacing all of the heat detectors, there's 11 of them, all of the wiring. I'm asking Primex, we want to replace all of it. We don't know which one tripped, we don't know why. I'm not going to put this thing back together and say, they're probably good, they look good. All new. That piece of it alone is $11,000 just to get up in there, change those heat detectors. We want to replace this system in its entirety. There's not a lot of stuff in here, but something in here could have failed. We finally, as of just like a couple of hours ago, I got the price on this. I'm still trying to get the lead time. This cabinet installed is $31,000. We're going to repipe it around, just a couple feet around the corner to protect it, so if it deploys again, it won't obliterate itself. And the floor took a pretty good hit. So what you're looking at here are three kind of stages of the floor. We'll start on the left. This was the floor that we performed on. And there's this kind of masonite, heavy cardboard kind of a surface on the floor. It was painted black, and you could see that got destroyed by the water. So we peeled all of that off, and we got into, underneath was the original tongue and groove floor. And there's some rotted areas in here, and we really started hoping we could save that. And we ordered a course of plywood, hoping we could go just over that. Before we did that, we went back again with Primex and said, we don't want to get into a mold issue. So when we did some moisture testing, we decided that floor is no good as well. So we stripped down to this floor. You'll notice back here, there's brick wall. All of that rigging that I showed you on the first slide, that's where it was. It's all removed. All that floor underneath has come out. That's been cut back. The new rigging will go back and get mounted into the cement directly. So this is a 1939 pine subfloor, and the plan now is to skim that over with 3/4 inch CDX plywood, and then we go over the top of the entire thing with 1/2 inch underlayment core plywood. And coming up with that material selection, we talked to Vanwall Construction. We met with the technical director at the Rochester Opera House, who's built several stages in his career, and Mr. Goodman solicited input from the technical director at UNH Durham as well as UNH Plymouth. So we've had a lot of experts weighing in on the stage. What we're going back with is going to be probably better than what we had.
Check in 8 years and see.
Pardon me?
I said, we'll check in 8 years and see if that's good.
So yeah, the why at this point we still don't know. So in the original response, 7 a.m. on that Octagon restoration was out there. Mr. Goodwin that day reached out to volunteers from the community. Maybe some people in this room were out there. Sunday night began demoing the set and getting it off so that we could do our demo. Additional damage we haven't talked about is the first light bar closest to the front of the proscenium. This is all lower. The lights are usually up high. Most of those lights have been destroyed. We're still waiting on pricing from Port Lighting and price and availability on that stuff. And the screen, there's 2 screens. There's a muslin and an actual projector screen. The projector screen was destroyed as well from water damage. So still waiting to quantify that piece. Now when you'll see the top of the proscenium, just because of all the moisture that got up into the air, the paint all started peeling. So we're going to get a new paint job around there as well. So the road ahead. I've kind of broken the tasks into two basic categories, occupancy and cosmetic. And when I talk about occupancy, I'm not talking about putting on a show. To put on a show, we need all of this done. But there might be a place where we can get occupancy where we can use the space for study hall, or Mr. Rapucci has a presentation, stuff that isn't a full-blown theatrical presentation. So those are the kind of two categories. Before we're gonna get occupancy, I need to finish the floor repair, I need to finish the deluge system repair. The lead time on the floor is low, we're starting to bang nails on that soon. I've got contractors, I've got materials, it's all lined up, that'll start going in very, very soon. The deluge system, we still don't have a lead time. I'm anticipating it's gonna be quite high. I could be completely wrong, there might be one on a shelf. Painting is a cosmetic thing, you'd want it for a show, but we don't need it for a certificate of occupancy. It's a low lead time, I can get that done. The lights, it's a cosmetic thing. Probably gonna take a while to get port lighting, to turn that equipment around and get it installed. The curtains, brand new curtains, you'll remember that we installed just last year. They were there when the water flowed. Before we did our demo, we had them all removed to store them. And at that time, they looked pretty good. They did get wet. They seem to be drying well. The flame retardant quality of that fabric is inherent to the fabric itself, so I'm not worried about any loss in the quality. Waiting to see when they come back out of storage, when we rehang them, what are they gonna look like? We may need to send them out and get them cleaned, so that's still something in flux, but we have them already, so it's kind of a low lead time. So those are the remaining steps on where we need to be at, and deluge system repair is your wild card right now. I can't tell you when we'll be back in the room until I know where that equipment is and where I can get it.
Mr. Toddy, without the deluge, whatever that system, you can't have people in that space, right? Because that is the fire, or can you not use the stage, but you can still be in the auditorium? Can you help me understand a little bit?
Once I get the stage surface done, because right now it's a construction site, I don't want people in there, but once I get the stage surface done, I can reach out to Deputy Chief Hughes, is the authority having jurisdiction, and I can ask him, I could say, Chief, I have a fully functioning fire suppression system in the rest of the space. I have fire alarms. I don't have the deluge curtain. Can I use the space? That is entirely up to him.
Okay.
And that's well on my radar. But I'm gonna wait until I'm ready to ask him the question to get him in the space. But yeah, he's been instrumental in this. We've been in touch with him the whole time, so he knows where we're at.
Curious how that works.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, myself. Are there any sprinkler heads above the stage, previous to the deluge system, or were those removed? Or
There's still sprinkler heads up there, but that's a separate, kind of, this separates.
that separates? So
It's a wall
you
of
still have
separation.
fire suppression in there, you just don't have that separation.
Yes, sir. Yes, yeah.
Hopefully that'll help us. Shane?
With Primex, you mentioned Primex, how much is insurance covering this?
So I've been in touch with Primex since the thing tripped, and they're fully aware of the problem, and I've been feeding him numbers as we go on. So our deductible is $1,000. That's what this is gonna cost.
Oh, okay, that's all I wanted.
It's gonna cost $1,000.
That's all I wanted.
Relocating the deluge system to the new spot is kind of an improvement, so they may kick back on that, but I've already told them I want to do it, and I explained to him, I say, hey, it's in your best interest too, because next time this goes, you won't have to buy another one of these, and he's on board with that, and that's really a very small piece. The project, I don't have a full number on it yet, but what I've got eyes on already is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 83,000 known cost. We'll be at 120 before we're done here.
So we're thinking insurance right now. So you have insurance.
Yes, sir.
I have two questions. Has Primex been easy to work with, first of all?
Yes, sir, we have a new representative, Mr. Goldwyn from Primex. I've dealt with him on a few losses. He's new this school year, and he's been great.
Okay.
Yeah.
You showed us pictures of the rigging that you replaced not too long ago. Are those going to be reused, or do you have to get all new rigging?
The slide I started with,
Yeah.
That's all that block and rope is fine, that will be reused.
Okay. Thank you.
There's gonna be some adjustment to it because I'm taking it, it was mounted on a floor, and I'm dropping it now 4 inches to mount it directly into the cement. Port Lighting doesn't think it's gonna be a problem, there may be some pieces here or there that need to get moved, but that would be part of the Primex claim because I can't put it back together the way it was. It's not, I have to put it to code, and that would be part of the loss.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Keen?
Yeah, I don't know how old the lighting was, but I'm assuming that newer, better lighting could be actually more efficient or anything like that? Or
No.
was that lighting fairly new?
This was, we've had, in my tenure, we've had 2 auditorium improvement projects, and the lighting you're looking at is mostly LED lighting. That's really.
I mean, about the fixtures and all of
Yeah,
that stuff and
that's
all
all,
that?
that's pretty
all
good
brand
stuff. Yep.
new?
It's brand new, but it's still,
Yeah,
it's
right,
considered
yeah.
state of the art. We've got good lighting in there.
Okay.
This isn't antique like 1939 stuff.
Well,
Kinda like this.
48 or something.
Is antique 1939 lighting stuff came out of the stage. And I've spent a lot of time in theaters. I've never seen one of these before. This is, don't even know what it's called. I know what it's for, but I don't even know the name of it. It's an electrical junction box. It was in the stage. And they would plug big lighting cables. You know how you've got outlet at home with 2 prongs?
Yeah.
This is the outlet. This is one outlet, that's the other outlet.
You ever seen Back to the Future?
Exactly.
You can get some money for that on eBay.
It's,
Claudia, it's funny because spending a lot of time on the stage, this and that, I always wondered what was underneath that box.
yeah.
We'll stick your finger in.
See the sword?
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Item number 4, Spalding High School Field Storage Building Bid.
Just to refresh people's memory, there was a field storage building. You're looking at a drawing here of Wakefield Street and the Community Way entrance to this building. The bus stop is here on the corner. There used to be a small wooden storage building. I'm told at one time it was a used car dealer building that had become part of our property, I think, when this was built. It was storage for mostly like track and field stuff. The building was structurally unsound, as well as some hazmat stuff that we remediated and knocked it down. We then put in a budget to replace this building of $150,000. We did it out and we were over budget. So the project kind of went on hold. We were over budget. The budget line was created pre-COVID, and the first bid was kind of like the height of COVID. So we rebid it recently, and in your packet you'll see there were 4 responses to the bid. The low bid is $188,959. It's by Solid Roots Construction. I have never worked with Solid Roots Construction. I have a little hesitation in that they're 21% below the next lowest bid. There's a huge spread here, but I think that's kind of indicative of the times where there's just a lot of uncertainty in construction. So I spoke with the owner of Solid Roots Construction. I pointed out to him that it was 21% low, and I said, does that scare you? Would you like to withdraw your bid? And he said, no, I'm confident that I can do this job for that number. So then I started checking his references. The first one I called is Mike Riley from the city. The recent repairs, renovations in the restrooms right here, that was done by Solid Roots Construction. Mike gave them a thumbs up. Check a couple of other references. Manchester Housing Authority says that they do fine work, as well as Litchfield Schools. So I got 3 good references on them, 2 cities and a school, and I think he can do his work. So I would recommend that we approve the low bid, Solid Roots Construction, $188,959. The original $150,000 appropriation, we spent a little bit on engineering, and it has a balance in CIP line 21107. The balance is $146,892.50. So to get the project completed, we would require an additional $42,066.50. And I've been working with Mr. Rapucci and Ms. Bartlett that this board authorized some spending of year-end surplus, and this would be one of the items that we would like to target with those dollars.
I'll make a motion to recommend solid roof construction amount of $188,959 as presented by Mr. Todd.
A second, and question for Mr. Tully. Just a quick synopsis of, this is a wood frame building we're going
This
with?
is a wood frame, it's a 40 by 60
Wood
slab
frame.
on grade, wood frame, no conditioned, no insulation, 200 amp electric service, period.
And
100 amp electric service.
Mr. Now?
Is that really how much it costs? The houses cost that much? I'm just asking a question, it's just, that's a lot of money.
I agree. We
I
had a
know.
design drawn by Banwell Architects with site work done by Norway Plains. It went out to bid, and you can see 5 contractors looked at it, and that's the
No,
spread that they came up with.
I just can't. Unbelievable, lumber that much?
So, and the intended use of this building, we talked about was field storage. It's not, it's going to be athletic storage, but it's also going to be for the drama department. The conversation started, if you remember, the drama department has a lot of stuff stored in the red barn. And there's a lot of times there are students and members of the community, they're accessing the barn that's full of a lot of equipment that I'm not comfortable having people around unsupervised. There's welders, there's gas storage, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of ways someone could get hurt in that building. So this is gonna be a building where it's just school stuff. It's not the maintenance stuff or utility stuff. It's just the stuff that the kids are used to being around, the theater stuff and the sports stuff. That's what's gonna be in this building.
Solange?
The one big draw that we had at the red building was access. I've got it with Matt moving that big tree from Village in and out of that thing. Thank you. Can you show us where we'd have access to that building?
So
please?
there's on the Wakefield Street side, there's already a curb cut right here where when it was a car dealership or whatever it was, you can actually drive right in. There's a gate, right, the fence right here. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing, because
Yeah, I got you.
I can't see you. So there is a gate, you could get a vehicle right in here, and we're gonna have a garage door on that end of the building. There's an overhead door for access.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments, questions? All right, we'll get a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. All right, next item is budget. Anybody have anything for budget? Ms. Lynch?
Specific to, not specific, but this CIP specifically related to schools and timing. We've got $1.6 million set aside or benchmarked for Nancy Loud. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In lieu of what we're trying to achieve by putting in a new school, can we postpone that, or is this an urgent thing?
We had put in a request 2 budget cycles ago for about $400,000 in siding. And that hasn't gone away, the problem's compounded, now we're seeing other problems in the building. I own the building, I'm not putting $1.6 million into it. I would advise you to probably look elsewhere to spend your money. But if you're not gonna do something else, then this work needs to get done. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Very fair to say. So what I think I'm asking for more clarity and definition is, if we postpone this by a year or two, if then, right? If we build a new school, no way. If we get if the school does not come around, can we put it on next year's CIP?
Yes, but it's gonna continue to
escalate.
snowball.
I understand.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, we
But it
can,
doesn't impact the education of the students and no one's in harm's way.
nobody's in harm's way.
Okay.
Mr. Bullier?
Just a point on that, there's no harm in keeping it there, because it's not gonna be an expense until it's actually happening. So if for some reason by June we know we don't have land and we're not gonna go for this grant and holy cow, then it's an option, doesn't mean that we have to do it. Right?
Can I just make one comment on
Yeah.
that? Yes, you're right in one respect, but if we go out borrowing for any other project, they look at all projects that have been authorized, and that goes against
This
our,
would show as an authorized.
That's what I-
potential project bond.
Thank you for clarifying that, that's exactly what my question was. Because though we approve it here, doesn't, it's not,
Right. We've also.
we don't pay on it until we take the loan type of thing, right?
Exactly
So-
right, but it shows.
We do.
But it shows up on our list
credit
of
history, right,
potential-
our credit
correct,
rating,
Yeah.
correct.
so, yeah.
Sorry.
So, if I may, Mr. Long, actually, Mr. Downs is
No, go ahead, 'cause mine's on a whole different area on here, so finish that one area.
I think in lieu of the conversation we had with Mr. Toddy, I would like to make a motion to the board to remove that. We don't have to make a motion, right, because it's not approved yet? Would we?
It would be still a line item at the board level
So we'd have to-
for approved
I
CIP
understand,
projects.
so I would like to make the motion to remove that from the bottom CIP line.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Motion and second, is there discussion?
So,
Mr. King?
so by removing it this year, and I just want to be clear, I mean, you talk about a snowball, it's going to show up in next year's CIP, or it's going to keep showing up depending on the depending on the plan.
A number will continue to show up until either the work gets done or we end up in a different
But what
location.
work, I guess,
Oh, I knew
kind
it
of,
was there, okay.
the 10-cent answer is, what work, is this critical work that needs to get done this year that's not gonna happen if this gets cut?
No, we're not there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
I don't understand what project you're talking about,
Okay.
because
So,
it's prior to.
yep, so we have to authorize bonded, so stuff we would borrow money to fix. Mr. Toddy has put it on his list to be repaired, but we're in current conversations about building a new school. So if we're going to build a new school, and ideally that would be one of the schools we would consider for consolidation, it wouldn't make sense to spend $1.6 million if we could spend that $1.6 million on our new school. Does that make sense, Donna?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I made the motion. And as I tried to be very clear in asking the question, it doesn't impact the student's educational process and no one's at risk. So we're not hurting him. But I also want to be very clear, that Mr. Toddy pointed out, that if we don't do a new school, that cost is only going to rise next time. But I think it's worth the risk, understanding the reception we got from City Council. Let's see where our cards fall and then we'll revisit it next time.
Mr. Downs?
Under general supplies and
Oh,
uniforms.
so we're still, we got a motion and a
Oh,
second.
sorry, I'm waiting for that.
You got anything on that?
Nope.
All right, so motion and second to remove line item for 1.6 million, the Nancy Loud siding and repairs from the CIP. So for clarification, if this passes, that means we remove this item.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Downs?
Okay. Sorry about that. General supplies and uniforms. I see it's a jump of 60%. What's the reason?
Linda, back me up on this, but that's negotiated as AFSCME, the uniform allowance changed for the custodial and grounds and maintenance staff. So the allotment for every one of those is 49 people changed, and that's the gross effect you're seeing there. Did I get that right, Linda?
That's correct, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else further? Mr. Bullard?
So last month, I think finance approved some money that we were thinking about, those was cost savings this year, or is there any adjustments to CIP or anything under building that needs to be made note of?
Anything else under other?
Quick, can I ask a quick question? We're under other, right? You're under budget.
Well, hang on, you can't go to other until you go.
Oh, we're under
You're
budget.
still on budget.
Oh, wait till other. I heard
So
other, so that's why I asked.
Other, he said anything other.
Don't jump, don't skip.
Still in budget.
Anything else under budget?
I'd like to make two small requests under budget. There's a line in here called Spalding High School bathroom improvements for $200,000. And, well, walking through William Allen the other day, I noticed that some floors there that really need some help. So I'm wondering if we could change the name of that line to district-wide bathroom improvements, which would allow me to complete what I want to complete at the Spalding High School. And then if there's any additional money left over, I can spend it in another school without having to go to a different bonded line.
under CIP?
Yeah, it's,
Bonded CIP.
third, second
Bonded
line
CIP.
down from bonded CIP, top half. Mr. Munn?
Mr. Lynch?
Mr. Toddy, understanding you don't budget extravagantly, do you think you need more added to that line?
No, sir.
No, sir? Okay. Mr. Munn, if I could, I would like to amend the bonded CIP line to reflect bathroom improvements district-wide instead of Spalding High School bathroom renovations.
Second. A motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I got one other adjustment I'd like to make. So we completed the exterior caulking and sealing project at Spalding High School, and it got us an opportunity to get some lifts and some professionals involved in looking at the EFIS system, is the siding on the new addition, the cafeteria library art room. Some of that exterior surface is starting to fill. The lion's share of this money was going to be looking at that building. Getting the professionals involved and looking at it, the estimates I'm getting are much, much lower. The damage isn't nearly as bad as we thought. It looks like it's just gonna be some superficial work. So I'd be quite comfortable reducing that line. Right now, we were asking for $150,000. We could reduce that down to as low as $50,000 and we'd still be fine to achieve what we wanted to achieve with it.
That makes me very nervous, that's a big jump. I'd be cool cutting it in half, that's a nice cost savings, and it leaves you a buffer just in case.
Sure.
Unfortunately, and Mr. Mon, I would ask for your guidance on here, but construction costs are like this, so we just don't know what raw materials are gonna be available and how they're gonna impact it. I'd rather not have you be short-sighted.
Sure.
I'm not comfortable going down to 50, I would say 75. So.
Yeah, I'd agree. Not only cost of materials, like we see the change in the bids for the storage building, a lot of that could be contractors' availability. If someone's got, nobody wants to say no to bidding on a job unless they absolutely know they can't do it, because they don't want to be taken off the running for the next time, but they might price it accordingly. If they think they gotta throw extra manpower overtime in there, whatever they gotta do to get a job done, costs more when they don't need the work. So, I agree with that.
I'll make a motion to reduce the district-wide exterior surfaces, EFIS, masonry and caulking, from 150 to 75,000.
I'll second.
A motion, a second, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Anything else on the budget? Mr. Lynch?
Under cash, we have a district paving, ceiling cracking, striping of $200,000. If I remember correctly, we had some pretty significant projects coming up for that. Is that enough, do you think, for that?
Yes, sir, I believe so. We're gonna start with the student lot here at the tech center,
Yeah.
and we'll be looking to move over to the middle school.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Camille?
A while back, you gave us and I believe it was Maple Street, the playground, one of the failing climbing structures.
Oh, McClellan.
McClellan. Is this money in here for playground upgrades going to address any of that, or are we?
What
where
you're
are we
doing
at
was
with
a
that?
climbing volcano that we were looking to replace, and it was jaw-dropping. It was $7,000 for the one little piece of plastic.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, we just put a new playground in William Allen School, and it cost $100,000. Traditionally, this is what we budget for playground structures. Does this allow me to ensure that every piece of playground equipment will be in service from beginning of year to end of year? No. This ensures that I can fix one thing, and then the second thing that breaks is gonna get caution taped, or removed, or made safe. Made safe might mean nobody can play on it anymore. this is historically what we budget, and we seem to do all right with it. Could it be more? Of course, any of this stuff could always be more, but I'm comfortable with these numbers as presented.
Anything else under?
I just have one last one. In regards to asbestos, sometime after summer, can you just review what we have left for asbestos abatement in the district-wide? Just so we know what we have left. It's not a priority. Let's get through budget, we'll visit in the summer, just so we can keep a running list of what we have to abate if needed. Please and thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Just for overall budget, are we within the tax cap that after everything you've done? Or are we still over by
We're still-
160,000?
We're actually over by 218,949 due to the grounds person was added at the last meeting.
So just keep in mind, committee, we're over by $218,000.
We need to spend some money.
So, yeah, we gotta spend some money that's been maybe savings this year, so we can offset that budget.
Do we need to spend some money?
Superintendent?
Yeah. Typically we go to,
Would
yeah,
you want me to?
Please.
So we do, as you remember, you gave us up to $500,000 to use in this year's surplus. I received $1.2 million worth of requests. The gentleman at the end of the table who spent it twice, but I give him a lot of credit.
Shoot high.
So what we would recommend, and I don't know if you wanna do it at you could do it at finance?
Yeah, we can do it at
Or
finance.
the next board meeting?
No, it's more suiting to do it finance. It makes sense to do it.
Yeah,
this
so
way.
no, like, if we have to cut in this committee to get to that, that's why I want to.
Right. So,
Our recommendations are not in this building budget.
I got you. So that's fine. Okay. We can always revisit boom lifts later if we have to.
The short
Come
number
around.
mode.
We'll come around.
All right, anything else under budget? All right, moving on to 5-year.
Do we need a motion to move the budget to? Yeah, so you have to make a motion to move the budget to finance.
Is there a motion to move the budget?
I'll make a motion to move the school building budget to finance for approval,
As amended.
as amended.
That includes CIP.
Yeah, we'll make the adjustments and we'll present.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, 5-year.
we got your list, so we just need to prioritize the next meeting.
Good with that, then?
A lot of them space studies, art space, sports space,
Sports space, it's all,
a bunch of space.
Building space?
Something like that.
All right, any public comment? Saying no public comment. Now we're on to other. Mr. Pappas.
I'm only bringing it up now because I'm about to leave, I'm not gonna stick around for finance, but.
Oh, in that case, point of order.
I sent out an email, or asked Sherry to send an email out to everybody just about the spring musical, so if anyone's interested in check your email, we have till the end of the month